Sing-Along Blog, several of you. Fantastic, great. So, who made Dr. Horrible's Sing-Along Blog and when? Does anyone remember? No, I didn't know there was going to be trivia at 10 o'clock in the morning. I just thought I was getting a donut and coffee, darn it. So, Dr. Horrible's Sing-Along Blog was produced, written, and directed with help from other people by Joss Whedon. So Joss Whedon had been around working for a while. This was before he really got into movies. He was still doing television. He's finished Buffy at this point, but he's not doing superhero movies yet. Joss Whedon and company decide to make Dr. Horrible's Sing-Along Blog in the middle of the 2007-2008 writer's strike. That's important for our talk this morning because we're going to talk about where content comes from, so the shows you watch, the movies you watch, things like that, why it costs money, and why you can't watch your shows for free. And then I'm going to show you some ways to legally watch stuff online, but also hopefully a couple of hacks for how to watch things cheaper if you don't want to pay tons and tons of money to do it. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Jen Lether, and I teach in the Department of Communication and Media. I teach a lot of theater, but my graduate degree is in film, so I also teach film studies. In fact, right now I'm teaching Intro to Film and Film History, and if I could teach one class every day for the rest of my life, it would be film history. I love film history. So the 2007-2008 writer's strike, which is now nearly 10 years ago, is now an important piece of cinema history because cinema no longer just exists in the movie theater. What we now have is content, right? How many of you watched a movie this week? How many of you watched it on a laptop? Yeah, the vast majority of you. Not everybody. How many of you watch television, cable television here? Kind of, right? Maybe if you have Xfinity. Right? How many of you watch satellite television here? Because you can't, right? You can't do that here. Maybe you can at home, but you can't here. My niece went to college last year, and I got her a coffee mug and a Netflix gift card. I said, this is what I know about college students. They need Netflix and they need coffee. That's all I know. And she went, these are the two things I need. Thank you, right? So I know you watch shows. I know you're watching them mostly watching them online. How many of you watch the movie on Netflix or something like that? Yeah, a lot of you. Netflix is pretty easy because it's a paid subscription and you have access to content. Now, what's really interesting about Netflix is that when I was in graduate school, Netflix was new. And to me, it was this really cool video store. I had grown up like depleting the local Blockbuster in a matter of weeks. I was like, oh look, all the foreign films, done, I finished those, what's next, right? I watched movies like they're going out of style, and I got to graduate school and people were talking about all these movies I'd never heard of, and I thought, how can I have access to that movie? I don't live in a major city, and my library doesn't stock it, and the Blockbuster or the Hollywood Video doesn't have it. Netflix had it, it was so cool. And then Netflix started streaming things, and you could watch them anywhere over the internet. This was so cool. And then Netflix did something really important. It started making movies. Netflix originals. It now had the market cornered so well that it could produce stuff. Now, that's important because where do movies and television, where does digital content come from? Right? You don't pay for TV, right? So it's free, clearly. Who pays for television? I mean, I'm not just talking about cable or satellite. How does television get paid for? Has anybody watched Game of Thrones? Production, oh, okay. Maybe good. I don't know. I'm not a big fan. I know a lot of people are. That is one production whose budgets are in the millions of dollars. It costs millions of dollars to make Game of Thrones. Even television sitcom costs upwards of $1 million to make. It's a lot of money to make a television show. So where does the money come from? Somebody rich is just going, you know what, give the people television. You know, here's my millions of dollars. Now, where does the money come from? Anybody know? From advertising, right. So years ago, television went to something called magazine format. And this is after the 50s when like Pet Milk is the sponsor for whatever. And I Love Lucy was sponsored by cigarettes, right? And they started doing magazine format, which meant that every 15 minutes, there'd be a slew of commercials. And that's what paid for television. The advertisers said, I want a piece of the airwaves. And once they did that, they paid the producers had money, they created content, and the content was a vehicle for advertising. So what you think, or what, at least what I grew up thinking, was this free gift from the great gods of society. It was television here for your entertainment. Turn it on, watch and enjoy. It was actually advertisers paying for content for their ads, right? Their ads were supporting television. Television was just the stuff that happened in between the ads. And as long as that television gripped your attention, the advertisers were happy. So that's how that worked. So we grew up perhaps with the notion that entertainment is there in order to serve our needs, just like air or water. We go find the entertainment, and we are satisfied. We might not realize that all of that is made somewhere. Just like we would like to think that chicken nuggets are grown on chicken nugget trees, right? And the chicken nugget trees then are probably like right in the back of the store, so the chicken nuggets are right there and we can eat them. Yeah, and we don't realize the whole process of how it gets to the chicken nuggets that you eat deliciously in the Cougar Den or wherever, right? Television and digital content is the same way. It costs money to produce, and if it costs money to produce, then the money has to come from somewhere. Now, when content really started to move online in the mid-2000s, a lot of advertisers were really wary. Now, by show of hands, does anybody still watch Hulu? Yeah, a couple people, right? I still know it exists, and I haven't watched Hulu for a while, but it's been around. Hulu really went through this strange, like, we don't want to have ads. Oh, wait, what do we do? What do we do? Hulu Prime. Okay, Hulu Prime means you don't have ads, and they really struggled with it because they wanted to provide people with content, but they didn't want to have it with commercials because people didn't want commercials, and they thought that's going to be our niche market. We're going to have a service where people can watch content; they don't have to watch commercials. And advertisers really struggled with we don't want to support this stuff online. And Hulu was saying, yeah, we don't want you here, but we don't know how to pay for this until we got subscriptions. Netflix is commercial free because you're paying for subscription. So Netflix is making money because they're taking money out of your bank account or wherever every month. And that's what they are using in order to make the stuff that they're putting on the air, or to get the rights to your favorite television show, which they then screen on Netflix. On some level, people who produce things want people to see it, so they want to get it out there, but they also have to pay their bankroll. So this brings us back to the writer's strike. So the writer's strike in 2007 and 2008 happened because the Writers Guild East and the Writers Guild West, the two major unions of people who write for television and sometimes for film, these are mostly television writers though, said whenever something gets put online, we don't get paid. So the distributor is making more money by selling the content to Netflix or someone, but we're not getting paid for that, and it's still our product, it's our intellectual property. We wrote it, and we're getting no royalty from it. And they went on strike. And if you guys remember, for about 14 months, there were writers not working on either coast. So there was a lot more reality television. In fact, during that year and 2 month span, The Amazing Race and I forget how many other reality television shows really kind of boomed because they didn't need writers, right? They just needed producers to kind of put things together, but there's no actual writing to the show. I could go on a long tangent about reality television and about how it is the least real thing on television. It is wholly produced, wholly edited, and is intended for you to get excited about when somebody drops a pan in a kitchen, for instance, if you're watching a television show. In no context is that exciting unless it is a reality television show, and they have made the most banal of things, cooking dinner, into a competitive art form. Anyway, but they produced a lot of reality television during this time. And because the writers said, we want to get paid. Eventually, however, the writers won. And the group of producers, which included NBC and CBS, the heads of Universal, the heads of a lot of companies, said, fine, we'll give you a dividend from digital stuff if you'll come back and write. The reason that Dr. Horrible got made was because Joss Whedon said, what can we do low budgets? We don't need a lot of overhead cost. We can write something, we can produce something, and we had a lot of stars who needed work, right? So Neil Patrick Harris needs something to do, and Joss Whedon says, hey, I have this idea. And he says, sure. And it becomes such a phenomenon that they start making money off of it. And it's so low budget that it now becomes this thing which you can more easily make money because it didn't have a high overhead. And they released it through iTunes, and I'm trying to remember the other place where you could get Dr. Horrible when it first came out. You paid for it, right? So that's how they made money. But they were going around the Writers Guild because Joss Whedon made it himself, right? He made it himself and was simply getting the dividend back. So he wasn't disobeying the Writers Guild rules. Or wasn't disobeying them so much that it didn't work. So, we need to pay for the stuff that we're watching online. Here I have my bootleg DVD of a movie that I got in India. I buy them on the street for 60 rupees, which is about $1, 50, 60 rupees. It is a cheap copy of something that was downloaded online. It is illegal, 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 this, illegal, right? In India, I have a crisis in which I talk with my students about why I purchased the illegal pirated DVDs and about how if Miramax loses money, what is essentially a screener that because I teach film, I might get anyway, which makes me an exception, right? Helps me justify it to myself, even though I'm not sure it's justifiable. What Miramax loses, I am more pleased that the guy who sells the DVDs at the corner little store in Calcutta, I'm more pleased that he gets money than Miramax loses money. That doesn't negate the fact, however, that I'm buying what is essentially a pirated DVD. Here's the thing. The reason that I end up wanting these things is because I want to see this movie, and I don't live in a major city. I mean, I live 30 minutes from here in the middle of a cornfield. I like it there. I have a limited internet connection. I actually have no television. I don't know if you know this, but it is completely possible. You may, in fact, live without a television already. You use your laptop, right? You can totally live without. I have a projector in my house. I watch movies. I watched 4 episodes of Little House on the Prairie last night. Not kidding. It's comfort food. I did a play last weekend. So I watch stuff all the time, but I don't need a television. And you know what I miss? I miss the Oscars, but I sometimes go to somebody's house and watch them like a party. I went to Dory's party last year. I miss Jeopardy because I'm a flaming nerd. But I got over it. I miss the Tonys, but I also go watch them somewhere. And sometimes the Olympics. And other than that, I don't miss television. I miss the ads. So there was one thing I could cut out of my life, and that happened because there was the switch over to digital, and I lived out in the country, and I didn't want to pay tons of money for satellite. I couldn't afford it. Couldn't afford cable, so I cut those things out of my life. I weeded down. That's also the reason I have very limited internet access at home. Let me tell you what the nice thing about that, putting that thing in place in my life is, that I now go, you know what, I can't do that. I have to do that at work. I have to do work at work. Sorry, I can't do this work at home. I have to do it at work. Which is nice, because then when I'm home, I don't worry so much about it. People send me cat videos, and I say, I'm really sorry, can't watch this cat video until I go to work. And then during my lunch hour, try to watch it. Anyway, living in that kind of more simplistic way allowed me to continually watch movies, but not feel like I had all the extra constraints of a lot of commercial television. And I found ways to watch films. So the reason that I would buy stuff like this is because I didn't have access to it, right? I couldn't go to the movie theater, or even if I could, I was going to have to drive to somewhere like Ann Arbor if I was going to watch a lot of the films that I wanted to see. So what can I do in order to watch those things? Producers are really canny, and in the end it helps you. So there's a movie you want to see, you go to Netflix, and if it's not there, try YouTube. Did you know you can rent videos on YouTube? Let me give you the hack if you don't already know it. Rent them in SD. Unless you have a Blu-ray television and you are definitely into watching all the very small details in the back corner, if you choose SD instead of HD, you save at least $1 most of the time, and the quality is still great. I almost watch nothing in HD. Like, why? Why, unless I was blowing it up, would I watch it in HD? I watch it in SD and I save $1 or $2. So, real quickly, this is just, can I see if I can throw this over? This is very quickly, let me see if it, nope, didn't show up. Let me close up here. On Amazon, you can also rent. So I rented the movie Loving a while ago. I waited until it was rentable. I didn't want to buy it because I don't have tons of money. So you can rent the movie HD, or more purchase options if you go here. See how you can rent the movie in SD for $1 cheaper. And I know it's $1, but it's $1, and I like saving $1. So I thought, I'm going to rent the movie. I have 24 hours to watch it once I start watching it, so I chose the time to watch it. And it was when I had a break between classes and rehearsal that night, so I watched the whole movie. And that way I didn't pay as much as I did in the theater. I still got to see the movie. I saw it legally. The people who made it got paid. The writers got paid. All the people got paid. And I still got to see the movie without sacrificing much at all. You can also do this through iTunes and other places. One other hack that I'll share with you, and then if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them, is to share accounts. You guys know how to do this, right? How many of you share a Netflix account with somebody? Yeah, so you already know this hack. I love this hack because here's the thing. Netflix wants you to. They want people to watch. Netflix is still getting paid. So if you have a Netflix account and you watch one thing or you watch 50 things, Netflix still is getting paid. So you're not cheating anyone by getting your money's worth out of it. I think that's great. I love it when companies do that. They say, use this as much as you want. And some people go, oh, I use it a couple of times. I actually share my account with someone else here at work. And she's like, hey, I have kids. Can we share the account? And I said, absolutely. That's totally fine with me. It's a really easy way to, just like sharing phone plans, right? It's a really easy way to save a few dollars. So feel free to continue to do that. Are there any questions you have for me about anything I've covered today? I hope I've said something that was helpful for you. Yeah.
Do you have any, like, maybe hacks or tips for getting BBC version things?
Oh, great question. I don't. I will tell you. I will tell you this. If there are like, oh, if I click here, I can watch TV for free online. Don't do that. You'll end up with viruses on your computer. If it isn't available through YouTube yet, just go like see if you can find even just like a chat online or somebody with in a forum who said like, I'm trying to watch this show, and they might help you find the legal way to do it, which is the easier way. Sometimes you just have to wait, unfortunately. Anything else? All right, thanks. Happy Friday morning, guys. Enjoy your donuts.
Gotcha.